Good morning and welcome to our online webinar, The Role of Women in Gender Equality and Inclusion. My name is Sarah Heffenden and I'm the Marketing Communications Manager at UKZN Extended Learning, also known as UEL. So in case you are unfamiliar with UEL, we are the continuing education unit of the University of KwaZulu-Natal and we offer all the short courses on behalf of the university. So we initially brought about these webinars as we were in full support and compliance with the directive of a national lockdown, which was issued to address the COVID-19 pandemic. We have embraced the changes and have launched a number of projects aimed at providing free access to learning materials during this lockdown period. So one of these projects is our online learning webinars. So our webinars will continue throughout August and September and will be offered once a week on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. So please do take a look at our final slide at the end of this webinar for further details on upcoming webinars, or you could visit our websites at www.ukznextendedlearning.com. Please note that due to the nature of this webinar, we will be unable to address raised hands and questions throughout the presentation. So please would you post all comments and questions in the Q&A box, and these will be addressed at the end of the webinar. We will also allow for live questions at the end. So if you would like to ask a question live, just raise your hand and we'll open your mic so that you can ask your question. So I'd now like to introduce you to our guest speaker for today, Mpumi. So she is a business executive with over 20 years of experience in strategy, leadership, and portfolio management in the financial services industry, after having started her banking career through a learnership program. She is first a mother of Amani and Sika, a role she treasures above all. She is a divisional finance director for Unilever, a first vice president and board member of the Durban Chamber of Commerce and Industry. She is the former chairperson of Women in Business at the Durban Chamber and former regional chairperson of the Businesswomen's Association of South Africa. Mpumi holds a number of qualifications in finance, marketing, and executive leadership from various universities in South Africa, China, and the United Kingdom. She is also an executive and business coach who is an active driver of women and youth empowerment with a passion for leadership, business transformation, strategy, and finance. She is a member of the Institute of Directors SA and holds non-executive directorship positions in a number of boards in South Africa. Mpumi is a member of the Women's Leaders of the World 2019 Program Fellowship based in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, which is made up of 1,000 women leaders from all the parts of the world. So welcome, Mpumi, and over to you.
Thank you, Sarah, for the introduction. Well, good morning, ladies. Happy Women's Month. It is August after all. And I must say, this year has been an unusual year, if I can put it like that. It's the first time that I get to work from home full time. And I'm lucky that my company has allowed us to work from home for the year 2020, obviously. And being a mother of my children who are homeschooled, it's been a wonderful time to spend time with them, see them in action. So for me, I feel quite blessed, despite the current way of living that we are now forced to be in. So thank you for today's session, and thanks for RSVPing to come and have a chat with me. And I hope I can be able to add some value and challenge your mindset and how we can probably look at things different. As with August is remember all the women who stood up for our rights in South Africa in particular, and how these women stood together across races, across locations to say enough is enough. Again, this year is 2020. It is a year where we're being challenged in different ways, yet we still come together and say, as women, how do we then come together and ask ourselves, how does our role continue to play in a time where we're now in democracy, first and foremost. Secondly, our roles as women have evolved from being a typical homemaker, obviously, and from there also we must still be active players in the economy and advancing ourselves as well. So today I'm hoping that I'm gonna come to you with a few questions and approach that won't be a typical corporate approach, academic approach on how we lead as women and how we can influence how the world becomes going forward. I've got a presentation with a few slides, I think about 10 in total. And in those slides, there'll be a few polls or survey questions that I would like you to answer. Please try and answer honestly these questions, and remember, I will not get to see who answered what. It's just getting a sense from you what your belief system looks like on a few issues to understand where we sit as women. And remember, we are all here to learn together and grow together. So Sarah, we can start. Start with my, firstly, my first quotation, the next slide.
Sorry, Mpumi. I'm having an issue with the slideshow. If you can start, I'll just sort it out in the meantime.
Okay. So like I said to you, we're now in a country that has democracy. Our women's rights are recognized by law. And also we are also active players in the economy as women. But the one thing remains, as it is today, gender equality is the biggest issue. Despite being a democracy, despite us being in 2020, we have gender-based violence coming through as an issue. We have obviously inequality in the workplace. We have pay issues, pay parity, where men are getting paid more than women. It's been proven times and times again. These issues continue to be to prevail at this point in time, despite having evolved or thinking we've evolved. And to add to that, we now have racial issues coming in. We have gender biases issues coming in, and all this explosion of opinions and explosions of belief systems all coming in together at the same time to challenge us and to say, you've been ignoring this for far too long. It is time for a change. What are you willing to do to make sure this changes? And I want us to start asking ourselves, what is my role in influencing how the world is today? Yes, women will often cry and say, we are the ones who are being marginalized by the system. We are the ones being overlooked by the men. We are the ones who are not being given a fair chance, who are being judged because we're women, we're being called emotional, we're being called unsupportive. There's all the stereotypes that exist around us about what we are believed to be as women. Hence, we cannot be seen as better leaders. Research confirms that. Now, Sarah, I hope you are almost there. I need to see the first slide and the next poll, because I need to get a sense of what our belief system looks like currently. So if you can get there much quicker, it will help us quite a bit. Okay, I can see it's loading now. Wonderful. Let's go to the next one. So democracy gives every man the right to be his own oppressor. I want this quotation to sit in your mind and ask yourself, as the gender that's been oppressed through history over the times, how is it that even in democracy, where we are fully empowered as women or almost fully empowered as women, we still see oppression happens? Let this sit in your mind. As you go through the presentation, the conversation, you'll understand why I have this as an opening slide for me, to ask ourselves as women, what can this mean for us? Next slide, Sarah, thank you. Okay, I would like you to just take a moment and do this poll for me. Just give us true or false. I need to understand what our perceptions are. Stereotyping is the way our minds operate, our minds think. It gets programmed on us from the time we are young by environment, parents, and things like that. So there's 5 questions. Please take some time and just tell me if it's true or false, if you agree or not, don't agree with these statements that you see in front of you. I'll give them just a few seconds so we can have time to just go through them quickly. Okay, the first one, a man is the head of the home. Men are providers. Women are homemakers. Boys don't play with dolls. Blue is for boys, pink is for girls. Let's see what you say about this. Okay, while we wait for the poll, we can go to the next slide, Sarah. Hopefully they will be done with it shortly. Okay, so like I said to you, we live in the world where women should be empowered, are empowered. Now, the UN Women did a survey, a global survey, and the outcome was globally, 43% of women, I leave the men, of women believe that men make better political leaders than women. So there's almost half of the women in the world who believe that men make better leaders versus women. Now, again, it may be a stereotype, but this is confirming a view from women. Remember the first slide I showed you and said, reflect on it? This confirms exactly that as much as we believe that as women, we are equal players in everything in life, whether it's business, economy, home, wherever we are finding ourselves being represented. Almost half of us still believe that our counterparts, men, still lead better. Men can believe that is allowed, but how can women still continue believing this in this day and age? Okay, so do we have a poll that goes back on our results of the previous poll? So we can see if we ourselves agree with the same sentiment or not. If not ready, let's move ahead, Sarah.
The results are there.
Okay, yeah, they're coming up now. I've got them. There we go. So I need us to have a look at the results. The results are saying 76% of the women present in this webinar right now believe that a man is the head of the home. And then more than half of the women in this webinar believe that women are homemakers and not men. A third believes boys don't play with dolls. And then less than a third, probably a quarter, say blue is for boys, pink is for girls. Now, let's look at this poll for a moment. So if we as women in the month of August, where we come and tell ourselves how amazing we are, how wonderful we are still believing that the role of a man and a woman in the home is different. One has more power. Why is it that when we go out the world, we then expect this sentiment to be different? I'll make an example. So if we believe a man is the head of the home, why when you get to work, do you not believe that a man is a better boss than a woman? Yet you go apply for a position of being a boss yourself, and then you get declined for a position. You say, because I'm a woman, I didn't get the job. But if you deep down you believe this, why would you then go and want to fight against it? So I'm challenging us as women. Do we really want to be seen as equal players in the economy, in business, in life as a whole? If we don't believe this ourselves, how can we expect the world to believe it? How can we expect to be seen by our children as equal players or equal partners in a home when we ourselves believe that the one partner holds the upper hand over the other partner? Are we being authentic? Are we being congruent in the way that we want the world to treat us versus what we believe about ourselves internally? Don't answer now. I want to continue. Next slide, Sarah. The next quotation that you had on. Okay. Never cannot change anything. Look at what the thing is. Condemnation is not. So if we want to change the world, we're going to that need that change desired is welcomed before we can go demand it from the world as well. So if ourselves don't believe that we are equal partners, how can we then expect the world to treat us as equal partners and equal players? Next slide, Sarah. Okay, so based on what I heard in the first poll, I'll probably get a sense of where we are moving to into the belief system. And of course, this next poll, how do we believe? We believe what we believe based on our history, traditions, customs, and how we're raised and how we been programmed to see and perceive the world. The question is, how much of ourselves exist in those customs and those traditions and those belief systems? How often do we challenge ourselves to ask ourselves, why do I believe what I'm believing? What is it based on? Am I 100% aligned with what is being believed or what I'm believing to the core? Because if I'm aligned to the core, then I should not be wanting something different versus my belief system. So if women are saying men are the head of the home, women should be happy then to be controlled by and be told to do by men all the time and not believe that they can even have an opinion in the home. But what is it that makes us want to challenge that mindset? If we say we believe that a man is head of the home, why do we still have this innate need to be heard at home, to be seen at home, to be an equal contributor at home? Because if we believe that, we should be at peace just being at the home, in the kitchen, cooking and doing whatever women are doing if men are in charge and not probably even working. What is it that makes us want to go out there and do this? Is it survival? Is it because we have to go and work? Or is it because we want to work? We want to be out there and be an equal business player? If the answer is, it is because it's something I feel deep down I want to go and do for myself. My mother worked. I work. She had her own career, successful career. I have one too. My kids see that about me, and I'm hoping that they'll grow up to be the same. My son, my daughter see me in the same eyes. Now, that is what I believe because I've seen it in action. I've lived it. I believe it. My religion, my traditions and customs that I believe in are aligned to that. My role models are aligned to my thinking. Media and society sometimes may influence us differently. A good example, we still see media perpetuating gender stereotypes that are happening right now. Again, that men are bigger than women, men are stronger than women, or one gender is more better than the other gender. That is still played out in marketing, in movies, in different spaces. And then the macho-ness of men is being played out while the world has evolved. Men are becoming much more gentler and are gentler, and they have a gentle side to themselves, but somehow that gets suppressed because a man cannot be seen to be a tender person. He must be a macho person. Are we helping the world by being that? I'm not sure. Our own biases. What is my bias? Inclusion speaks not just only about gender, it extends inclusion to race, to sex. How many of us still believe that being gay is immoral? And or they may believe that if you are Black, you are not as smart. Those biases still exist. And this is what forms our belief system. And it's up to, as we get older as people, we have to start challenging ourselves about where do these beliefs come from? How are they embedded in us? Is it not time for us to review them? Are they still serving us the way they should be serving us in today's days? Because often the customs and traditions and religion, all these things often were formed over 1,000 years ago. Life was different then. There were no cell phones, there were no high tech, there were no robots around. Life has evolved so much. Are those rules, are those laws still relevant? How often do you take the time to reflect and ask yourself, am I being relevant to the world I'm living in today? Because while you're conflicted in your belief system, believing one thing and then expecting the world to serve you the other, you won't get anywhere. And I believe that the reason why we're not advancing in gender equality and inclusion is because we are playing back and forth with our belief system and behaviors. We are not being clear and making our minds where we stand about this. Sarah, thank you. Next slide. Okay. I want to just remind us, some of us are mothers in this session. Some of us are aunts, some are grandparents, but at some level, some of us are playing a role in how a young man is being raised. I'm a mother, you heard that in my introduction by Sarah. I've got a son, I've got a daughter. And I just want to share my experience of exactly how I've experienced my children growing up. And it's challenged how I'm seeing the world. Because I like to challenge how I'm thinking all the time, because that's how we grow as people, by challenging our mindsets. So, as a mother, a child is born. Who spends the most time with a child when they're being born, when they're born? Okay, child was in the belly with the mother for 9 months. Child gets born, they stay at home with the mother who's on maternity leave while the dad probably goes and works. The child grows up, the mother spends more time taking care of the child. And then again, the dad may be working, but also maybe also helping at home. It depends what the household looks like and how the rules are plugged in the household. They say that our perceptions about life or our belief systems are formed by the time we're age 7. By the time you're 7 years old, all your stereotypes, all your biases are all formed already. And they're often formed based on how you've been raised at home. And kids take their cues from our responses to things, our behaviors, even our real cues that we on our expressions, on our faces, when they do something, they get the cue. A child sees the fire, they look at you, you say, you shake your head, they know they mustn't touch. So the kids are often taking cues from us all the time. And which gender has the most power in influencing these human beings' biases and stereotypes and perceptions? I believe it is a woman, because we spend most of the time with the child until the age of 7 years old. Why is it that we still are finding adult people who still don't understand the role of women very well, who don't see women as contributors in business and in society, who see them as only homemakers, who see men as the head of the home? Why is it that when we had the privilege of informing how this mind would be like when it's an adult? Because to try and convince somebody to change as an adult, it's not easy, but convincing a child to change through behavior and through what you are affirming and experiences, it may be an easier thing to do. So as a mother, do you realize how much power you hold on how the other gender, being men, perceive the role of women in life as a whole, not just only business, in life holistically? Unless we understand this power, we may not understand how we can influence how the world changes going forward. The world is going to change when we start influencing and using our influence the right way, the best way to then serve what is best for the world. Because perpetuators of stereotypes are often the ones who create informing them. And mothers are the ones who often form stereotypes that you often live with. I'll give an example. My mother was a nurse, didn't believe in drinking alcohol. She used to say, oh, never. You can't drink alcohol. Even a dog, look, I can pour this alcohol in that dog bowl. That dog won't even drink that water or that alcohol, because it knows the wrong thing to do. How can you go ahead and drink something that a dog can't drink? Guess what? I'm in my 40s. I'm an adult. I don't drink alcohol. It's not about my belief system or it's not sorry, about religion or anything like that. It's purely because I don't see logic in drinking it. And I can remember my mother's words when I was young. They still play in my head. That's the power my mother hold in my head till today. As an adult, how I'm behaving is informed by what she said to me when I was young. Women, we hold the power to influence equality, inclusivity in our own spaces because of the closeness we are to the heart. Inclusion and equality are things that has to do with the heart issues. It's not about money. It's about what a person feels in their heart is right or wrong. And in the matters like this, the person that you value the most, to treasure the most in your life, will be likely to influence you in that space the best. So women, we have influence. Next point, Sarah, thank you for that. Okay, so I'm gonna further on and go and ask you, as women, look back into your childhood, look back in how you're engaging with children that you're interacting with right now, look back at people that you're interacting with as adults, and try and understand and link how do you think they were raised versus these points that I'm gonna be sharing just now on the slide. So how children can be influenced to then see gender justice as a positive thing and inclusivity as well. Let them play with whatever they want. Boys can play with dolls because that's where they learn compassion, empathy, all the soft skills that they need to possess to navigate the world. They often come from engaging with a pretend human, in this case, a doll. And why do we often wonder why women tend to possess more of the softer skills versus the men? Duh, look how we're raised. men, the boys didn't play with dolls, which is a tool that will help you develop the skills of empathy and all the soft skills that we need to engage better with people going forward. Second point, teach them to understand and respect their bodies. Again, how do you look at the bodies? A boy's body, a man's body. How much do we invest in teaching the one gender about their body versus the other? Do you spend time teaching your son about his body more than you do, or equally as you do your daughter? Often the women are the ones with body conscious issues or body insecurity issues. And look at the time invested in the body conversation as they grow up. Probably often girls get more involvement and engagement about their body versus the boys. And boys have less issues on that. Thirdly, all humans have feelings. Men have feelings, women have feelings. We all have feelings because we are human beings. Why is it that one gender often is told you cannot cry, while the other is allowed to cry and be emotional, and they grow up being told you are emotional? Could that be coming from the fact that when they were younger, one wasn't allowed to be emotional, hence they see emotionality as something that is wrong? When we express that at work as adults, then it's seen as a weakness. Could that be our contribution as well? Could be. Next point, examples express more than words. People are influenced more by what they see in behavior than what they hear through words. Talk about racism. Racism is a scourge in the world. Even today, it doesn't make sense logically, but nevertheless, we haven't evolved past racism. Again, it is to do with how we are engaged and raised at home and how we experience different races. Do we expose our children across other races beyond what they're comfortable with, what they know, what theirs is? Are they diverse in their thinking to understand that people come in different colors, sizes? All of that is part of being human. How much do we do that? In our fact, that we are raised to believe that race is divided, classism and things like that, and we see it being played out today. We see the racial issues happening now, even the world over. Lastly, show them diversity of the world. Diversity exists in the world. I grew up in Guamashu. I never saw a Chinese person until I was old. Didn't even know they existed, except when I watched that Monkey Magic on TV. And they were just flying up on the clouds. And for me, Chinese people were full of magic, were not normal people. I had the stereotype growing up until I had to go experience and see the world differently. How much of that exists? So again, this is just sharing, looking back, your own, how you're being raised, looking back at people you're engaging with as adults, even a partner right now, your friends that who are adults. How do you think they were raised based on these principles? How will this influence their behaviors? Are influencing their behaviors as it is right now? That remains to be challenged. Okay, next slide, Sarah. I think it's a poll. There you go. Okay, survey time. True or false? Please, I would like to hear what you guys think. Again, ladies, again, be honest. It's important for us to know this. First point, it is easy to change your beliefs when you're older. Do you agree? True or false? Gender equality is perpetuated by men only. Lastly, women hold more power on the future of gender equality and inclusion. Let's hear what you say on that one.
You should be able to click on all that you believe are true. So you don't have to select one.
Yes. Thanks, Sarah, for that. Give it a moment to get that done. I'll sip my tea. Okay, let's move on, Sarah, while they're completing the survey. Next slide. Okay, the last one will be a pledge. I'm hoping that what I've discussed today would sit with you as we celebrate the month of August being a Women's Month. And you'll spend some time asking yourself, what is the role that I am playing in perpetuating or eradicating gender inequality? Am I promoting gender equality, or am I not supporting it in my behavior, in my speech, in how I do things, in my belief system as well? Not for today, just spend some time doing that. Because for us to ask the world to give us something that we do not believe innately about ourselves, is it the best thing to do? And then also ask yourself, how are you influencing those younger people that you are a role model to right now, or you are raising right now, to see the world through equal eyes when it comes to gender and other divisions, which is race, sex, and things like that. Okay, do you have our poll results? Okay, wonderful. It is easy to change when you're older. No, I agree. Only less than a quarter people agree with that. So we all agree that men are not perpetuating gender equality. Okay, I wonder if women are doing that. Okay, women hold more power on the future of gender equality and inclusion. 93% of women in this webinar are seeing their power in changing stereotyping, in changing how the world treats us, how the world sees us, how the world welcomes us as an equal contributor in every space. So we agree with that. It's almost 100%. I didn't vote. Maybe it's my number that's not coming in as well. And inclusion. I'm happy with saying that. The last one, it is a pledge that I'm hoping that we can all pledge to, because it is up to us to change how the world does this. So the pledge is, I pledge to challenge my own biases on gender, okay, and race, to make the world better for women on all races, especially Black people. Not because I'm Black, because we know, stereotype-wise, Black is the lowest of all the races in the world. Otherwise, all Black Lives Matter in America wouldn't be the issue at all, even globally as well. So take a moment and see if you're willing to pledge or not to pledge, because it starts with us. We hold the power and the influence. And only when we start using our power that we hold in us, we can then change the world for the better for ourselves and our children moving forward as well. Let's see the results of the pledge, please. I can't wait to see what happens. Woohoo, 100%. I am glad that we are recognizing that as women, we have been guilty in perpetuating gender inequality and lack of inclusion in our own spaces. It is time for us to face our truth and really do what is right by ourselves, ladies. I will stop here and allow Sarah to actually, no, Sarah, next slide quickly before I stop, so I can, yes, there is a lucky draw, by the way. Sarah will decide who gets to win. Let me tell you what it is first before Sarah can take over with the Q&A. So you heard I am a coach. So I've got my side coaching practice, which I've been doing really for mostly business people. And I'm opening this up to a woman today who I'm hoping will require it, would need it. I won't be doing it now, obviously. It is better done face to face. And I would like to start that process when lockdown, because lockdown level 2, which will be probably around October or so this year. It is 6 sessions of really unpacking your value system using NLP and CBT to understand what has formed you as a person, and then work with how to then influence that to then better serve yourself going forward. It's basically a conversion or a practice of what I just spoken about today in terms of how do we challenge ourselves to change who we are and how we are being perceived and how we give to the world moving forward. So it's 6 sessions of coaching. They are worth about 7,000 Rand in total. This is how much I'll be paid if I did that for business. So I'm hoping one woman can get that done. Sarah, let us know who the winner is. But before we get there, Sarah, are there any questions, comments from the audience, please? I'm open to those now. Thank you.
Okay, we have someone, Nkobile, saying, wow, beautiful. I don't know if there's any other questions that anyone wants to ask. Now's the time. You can either type in your question in the Q&A box, or if you would like to ask your question live, you can raise your hand. While we were just waiting for you to do that, I'm just going to launch the final poll where you can rate your session today. But please, if you have a question you'd like to ask Mpumi, this is the time.
Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, we do have something coming on the chat.
I can see. Yeah, I can see the comments.
Debbie,
Amanda.
Yeah, Debbie says, brilliant. Amanda says, thank you so much. We women must also support one another in this quest. So thanks for your feedback. But I'm sure someone has a question. Bumzile says, this was an inspiring session. I'm watching with my eldest daughter. It has inspired us to discuss certain topics. Great feedback.
Yep, definitely.
Celine Clankler says, lovely and thank you. Do you treat your daughter and son equally at home?
Okay, I can answer that. I hope they can hear me. Actually, I do treat them equally. In my house, we don't have any gender-related roles, even pronouns. We just are human beings first and foremost. And the person does what speaks to their heart. I'll give an example. My son played more with dolls than my daughter did. He is the one who loves dancing and does gymnast. My daughter is the one who likes to do the more karate and the martial arts kind of stuff, which was probably stereotype-wise would be more the switch role-wise. Yeah, so for me, it is about raising them knowing that men and women have equal capacity in thinking and in behavior as well. Hope I've answered you well. Thanks.
Okay, we've also got some more feedback. Hope says, I'm a man, I'm watching from Namibia. Nolotando says, so empowering. Indeed, the change begins with us. Thank you, Mpume. Hope also says, I learned quite a lot. Gender issues are very close to my heart. And then we have a question from Celindo Kutle. How has your journey thus far been influenced by males?
Okay, so there's also another question on my screen as well that I've got. Let me ask the one you've just said. How have men influenced my journey in life? A lot, actually. I've had many men in my life who've really been part of it. My father wasn't around when I grew up, but I was lucky enough to have good close uncles. And uncles were also in my neighborhood who were in the township, who were part of my engagements quite a bit in life. Advice-wise, I've got a few mentors who are men and women. So really, when it comes to gender view of the world, I've been lucky enough to have had both sides playing out equally. And I'm not faced by I try not to be faced by any gender stereotypes. I don't see my own blind spots, obviously. I remain to be questioned, but I can openly say that for me, gender is really something that gets assigned to you. It should not determine how you behave in the world going forward. So I'm quite open-minded when it comes to that. I've got a question open here from Sinetemba Zungu. How do we get men to actively participate in the conversation about gender equality? Remember, conversations are brewed over dinner often, over the braai often. The true conversations often happen where we feel the most safest, with those who are like us, who think like us, whom we feel safe with. And that's where we can influence the most. When I talk about gender issues, start with them there. Your own partner, if you're married, your own son, if you have a child, your own nephews and nieces. How do you discuss gender with them? That's where it starts. It starts in the home before it leaves to be practiced outside. So start challenging yourself in those spaces already. Okay. Next question. Okay, let me see. I wish that similar sessions can be fun. Okay, yes, okay. The Lynn Ray, I think Lynn Ray says he wishes or she wishes, I'm not sure what gender it is, that these sessions can be extended to men. I just ran one session with my nephews and nieces and my family the last weekend about sexuality, and I had my young nephews attend. And it's important that we do those. Please watch out when COVID is over. I am planning some sessions targeting really young people, youth, both men and women. Some will be gender related, some will be combined because we must have interaction happening as well. Those will happen because it starts by us engaging both genders, not just only one gender. I referred to that earlier on in my conversation about one gender gets told more, engaged more on the issue. They become very aware of it and about it. The one who's not informed the most tends not to care much about it. We must change that. So fully agree. Men and boys must be engaged at a young age as well. Okay.
So there's another one from Anne. Thank you very much for this inspiring input. I'm wondering if I have ever given a talk to the women in rural backgrounds about gender equality and how did they take it? Oh, if you have given a talk.
Actually, I have. It may not be known probably that much. History way back in Africa, women were very powerful. Women were queens, and that gets forgotten. So when you're speaking to, when I speak to women in rural areas and we use those stories, they can resonate with those stories because it relates to how they've been hearing the stories coming, being shared in their childhood as well. It's the angle that's important to use, but it is important that you go there because those women are mostly in a space where they truly believe that they have no ability to influence anything about gender. So I'm open to that, and I do that openly, and I often use history to confirm my affirmations on that women having been able to lead in these spaces in the past, not only now, way before. I mean, Queen Cleopatra in Egypt, a good example of that. Similar. Nandi, mother of Shaga, similar to that. So you can use such stories to then connect to those women in those areas. Okay. Mape is saying something.
Yeah, Mape is saying, wonderful session. I would like to know your thoughts on terms of taking these issues forward. I feel like we always start talking more about these issues during Women's Month, and the rest of the year we are all quiet about it. Please, would you make suggestions on how we can amplify these issues and make sure they are addressed?
There you go. Wonderful. Good comment, Mape. That is why I'm challenging us to reflect as women and ask ourselves, why is it that you only raise these issues in August? If we truly believe, if you believe in something so strongly, you don't let it lie on the side and only wake it up when it's August and go run with the placard and say, hey, I'm a woman, look at me. It bothers you on a daily basis. When you're aligned, when your values are aligned to your belief system and what you're asking the world to do, you will never have peace until you do something about that. So here, how do we do that? Question our own values and challenge our values to change and align to what you are asking the world to be. When that happens, Mape, I guarantee you, you will be bothered by doing nothing about it throughout the whole year. And if you're bored, send me a shout out. Find me. I'm always willing to explore this all the time because for me, I feel strongly about it. Okay, Muhlakwana, Sarah, do you want to do that one?
Okay. I was part of a conference where there were leaders present, and a comment that stayed with me was when a gentleman who occupied a high position said to me that when he hears the word gender equality, he shuts down. Is it possible that we have used the terms to such an extent that people don't hear them anymore?
It's very, very possible. I fully agree with you, which is why I'm referring back to the values. Remember, if someone speaks to you about something that your value system isn't aligned to, you can't even be open to it. We've got to challenge the value system, our social construct on how things are being viewed. And when we speak to that, they will open up. But while we speak and just making noise only in August and then forgetting about that, they can see that we are almost hypocrites. We're not walking the talk. Because we say this, but we do the opposite of that. When we start aligning and working our talk, they can't ignore. They will see that this is a hard issue. They can do something about that. It is up to us to make sure that they start seeing that in us as well. Then we can convince them. Okay,
we got another.
Temba.
Temba says, as a Black woman, how do you navigate your life around respecting tradition and cultural norms, which is something sometimes seen patriarchal, whilst maintaining your stance and beliefs on gender equality?
So again, traditions and cultural norms, they change with time. Again, it's important for us to understand history and where these beliefs come from. When we start questioning where the belief comes from, we understand what informed it. That becomes a talking point in the home environment. I make an example. Okay, you know for a fact, if you are married, you have a husband, the man may be perceived as the head of the home. Is he really? Is he there when you're buying your groceries? Is he the one who tells you how much you can spend a month? Is it the one who chooses the color of the house, of the walls of the house, and what couch, what lounge you're going to be buying? Is it doing all of that? You are doing it. So how can you behave in a way and then you go say you believe in something else? When you start asking yourself that, look, yes, you may say you're the head. What does being the head mean? Unpack those conversations. When that happens, you start challenging the view of the world, your own view, and people around you views as well. Because unless to challenge that view, you can't challenge cultures and traditions. Yes, for me, I've been raised typically in KZN, Zulu way of living, but I'm one of those women that speak out, that gets consulted to. Even my uncle used to come to me for advice. He used to own taxis, is passed on now. He would come to me for advice on his finances, his business. He didn't say, you're a girl who can advise me. He came to me. So when we offer ourselves and allowing ourselves to be seen as people who have something to offer, they will treat us like that. We have to start believing that ourselves first and foremost. Okay, Lolika. Okay, my contact details. Okay, wonderful. I am on Facebook, Bomelanga, my name and surname. I am also on Instagram, also on Twitter, same Bomelanga. That's my handle across the board. And yeah, if you just send me an inbox there or a DM, we can connect. It becomes easier that way.
Okay, thanks. And then I think just Debbie also said so true with what you're talking about just before that, that what you were saying is so true. I don't see any more questions at the moment. I don't know. I'm going to let them know how they can win that lucky draw. I don't know if you just want to let them know one more time what that is.
Okay, it is a breakthrough coaching session. It may be to do with your career, to do with your personal circumstances, with your business. You will then decide how you want to use the coaching sessions. It is 6 of them that we'll go through them. I am based in Durban North or La Lucia area or Klinesha area towards the north side of Durban, and I run the sessions at home. I hope you can make it. If you can't make it, then we can probably do them virtually via Zoom or via Teams. I'm open to that as well. And I'm hoping that I can be able to assist in helping you change your view of the world for the better, so you can be a better contributor to the world, to your family, to your career, to your business moving forward. Because unless we do that, we can't influence the world differently. So yeah, it's 6 coaching sessions by myself. Yeah, and hope that I can add value into your life. If you're keen on that, let's see if you are the lucky winner. So Sarah, how are you going to do this winning thing?
So the first person to email me requesting this session will win it. So I'm posting my email address right now in the chat. So if you are the first person to send me an email requesting these sessions, then you will be the lucky winner. And we will announce the winner when we send out the video link this afternoon. And then we'll obviously
That sounds fair.
Yeah, Mpumi will be in contact with you thereafter. So you better get typing. The first person to send me an email requesting these sessions will be the lucky winner. Just one more comment from Celine Temper. Thank you so much. Really useful conversations for us young women. So much to learn and understand. So if that is, details again for the email, it is in the chat. But my email address is Strauss, STRAUSS @ukzn.ac.za. And it is in the chat if you missed it. Okay, so I think that's about it. Any other questions that you think of at a later stage, you're welcome to fill in the email that we send out this afternoon. There is an option for feedback. If you do want to ask anything else, you can send it through there. Otherwise, you can contact Mpumi directly, as she said, on any of her social handles. So if you really enjoyed the session and you want to find out more, or you want to have something customized for maybe your employees, you're welcome to contact Sindiswa or Venosha on the contact details that are on the screen now. They can always meet up with you and see what could work best for you in terms of then presenting something similar for your employees. Otherwise, I am going to close off now. So thank you so much to Mpumalanga for sharing with us today. You've really inspired us to be the change makers and we need to initiate the change that we wish to see. So thank you for inspiring us. And I hope we all live up to our pledges. So thank you as well to our attendees for engaging in this webinar. Yeah, the videos and the slides will be available on our website. So we'll be sending out this direct link to you once it's ready. So do take note of the upcoming webinars and do RSVP to secure your place. Next week, we have a webinar on emancipation from within, and that's being presented by Zinhle Mpangosa. She did the There Be Dragons series. And then the following week, on the 18th of August, we have another Women's Month series topic, The Journey to Starting a Career in Entrepreneurship, and that will be presented by Vani Mudli. So if you would like to RSVP or find out more about these sessions, please go visit our website, www.ukzdenextendedlearning.com. And otherwise, we really hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you again to Mpume, and stay safe, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you, everyone, for making the time to be with me this morning. And I wish you well. And let's go change the world together and make it better for all races and for all genders. Have a great day. Thanks. Bye.